For over a century, Harley-Davidson has stood tall as a symbol of power, grit, and American muscle. Their bikes roar down highways built for men who like machines with presence and purpose. But not every chapter in Harley's story is worth bragging about. LiveWire, their electric side project, is the perfect example of a bold idea that just never hit the throttle. Launched in 2021, LiveWire was Harley's leap into the electric motorcycle market, sleek, silent, and supposedly the future. The problem, it never caught on. Not with Harley's core riders, and clearly not with new ones either. Since day one, LiveWire has never made a single profit. And by 2024, things had gone from bad to worse. That year, LiveWire sold only 612 bikes. That's not a typo. That's the total for the whole year. In fact, it was even fewer than the 660 bikes sold in 2023, despite setting a target of 1,000 to 1,500. And yet somehow, they're making the same prediction again for 2025. That level of blind optimism would be cute if it weren't so expensive. And it's not just sales that are sliding. Revenue dropped by 31% year over year. But here's the real kicker. Most of that money didn't even come from the actual motorcycles. Instead, it came from a Stay Quick, Harley's side hustle making balance bikes for toddlers. Those tiny bikes brought in $26.5 million, while LiveWire's electric motorcycles scraped together just $11.5 million. Imagine building a futuristic bike line only to get beaten by preschoolers on training wheels. Still, LiveWire refuses to quit. They recently partnered with Taiwanese scooter maker Kymco to launch an electric maxi scooter by 2026. Translation: give us 2 more years to maybe fix things. Conveniently, Kymco also happens to be one of LiveWire's biggest investors. So this partnership smells more like damage control than real innovation. At this point, LiveWire looks less like the future and more like a pricey mistake dragging down Harley's legendary image. The guys who ride Harleys don't want buzzwords and PowerPoint dreams. They want machines that earn their respect on the road, not in shareholder meetings. And LiveWire, it hasn't earned much of anything yet. But don't worry, they also got help from Uncle Sam. In 2024, the US government gave LiveWire $89 million in grant money to help them make more zero-emission motorcycles. Which is kind of funny because who exactly is buying these bikes? If they can't sell the ones they already have, why would they need help making more? Even Senator Bob Casey said the money would help LiveWire upgrade current models and increase production. But again, production for whom? Investors aren't thrilled either. In their recent earnings call, Harley-Davidson and LiveWire executives gave the usual business speech: cost-cutting, exciting new products, and optimistic goals. But no real proof of how they'll actually fix the problem. Harley-Davidson's CEO Jochen Seitz even admitted LiveWire isn't meeting its goals. He said they might need to consider optionalities if things don't improve soon. That's a fancy CEO way of saying, we might pull the plug. Sometimes Harley gets it right, and then lets it slip away. Enter the Softail Slim, a classic cruiser that launched in 2012 and quickly became a favorite for both new and seasoned riders. It wasn't trying to be futuristic or flashy. This bike was all about throwback bobber style, low-slung, minimal, and effortlessly cool. And for a while, it worked brilliantly. So what made the Softail Slim such a hit? For starters, comfort. This wasn't a bike that punished you for taking the scenic route. It came with a low seat, wide handlebars, and forward-mounted floorboards that made long rides feel like a breeze. Under the hood was Harley's Milwaukee 8107 engine, a 1,753 cubic centimeter V-twin pumping out 86 horsepower and a hefty 149 newton meters of torque. Translation? It moved. It was also highly customizable, which earned it love from the custom bike community. Riders threw on everything: sissy bars, fairings, backrests, crash bars, you name it. The Slim didn't just ride smooth, it looked like something pulled from a vintage garage and brought back to life. And it wasn't just a pretty face. The bike featured dual counterbalancers to cut engine vibration and optional ABS for added safety, blending old-school charm with a touch of modern tech. It was classic Harley, refined. But then came the heartbreak. In 2021, Harley discontinued the Softail Slim. Just like that. Fans weren't thrilled. Forums still light up with riders reminiscing about the Slim and hoping it'll return, maybe with tweaks like improved acceleration or better two-up comfort. For a bike that hit all the right notes, it's a shame Harley let it fade away. If the Softail Slim was old-school cool, the V-Rod was Harley's futuristic wildchild. Introduced in 1999, this bike looked like it rode straight out of a sci-fi movie. It was low, sleek, and had one of the fattest rear tires in the business. It broke all the Harley rules, and for a while, young riders loved it. The V-Rod didn't just look different, it was different. At its heart was a 1,247 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled Revolution engine developed in collaboration with Porsche. Yes, that Porsche. It cranked out 123 horsepower and 117 Newton meters of torque. In other words, this thing didn't just sit around looking pretty, it moved. Even the fuel tank was unique. It wasn't on top like most bikes. It was under the seat because of course it was. The V-Rod had a low center of gravity and impressive handling for something that looked like a drag strip monster. In fact, many still say it's one of the best-looking Harleys ever made. So why did Harley kill it in 2017? Officially, it didn't meet Euro 4 emission standards, but the deeper issue was identity. The V-Rod was so different from Harley's traditional lineup that many older, loyal fans just didn't know what to do with it. It was missing that signature Harley growl, shake, and retro soul. Sales dropped. Slowly, the bike that was meant to be Harley's future became a relic of a road not taken. Still, the V-Rod isn't forgotten. It has a cult following. Riders still dream of a comeback, maybe with a cleaner engine and a little more Harley DNA, but until then, it's one of Harley's boldest, most misunderstood gambles. If the V-Rod was Harley's rebel and the Softail Slim was the charmer, the Dyna Wide Glide was the rock star. First launched in 1993, this bike looked like it rolled straight off a 70s concert poster. With its raked-out front fork, skinny front tire, and fat rear end, the Wide Glide wasn't just a cruiser. It was a chopper with street manners. It didn't just lean on looks either. In 2012, Harley gave it a serious performance bump with the 1,690 cubic centimeter twin Cam 103 engine, good for 80 horsepower and 134.9 Newton meters of torque. It also had modern touches like electronic fuel injection and ABS, so riders could hit the throttle hard and stop safely. The Wide Glide had attitude. It had presence. It had that long, stretched-out silhouette that screamed freedom. But here's the catch. Harley couldn't decide what to do with it. They discontinued it in 2008, brought it back in 2010 like nothing happened, and then killed it off again in 2017. It was the motorcycle equivalent of a band that just couldn't stick to a reunion tour. Why didn't it last? Well, while the styling nailed that retro chopper vibe, the ride quality didn't keep up. The bike vibrated like it was trying to shake off its own bolts, and the suspension felt like it was just there for show. For long rides, it wasn't exactly plush. To bring the Wide Glide back, Harley would have to fix those issues, and let's face it, they haven't shown much interest. For now, it remains a fan favorite that lived fast and faded out too soon. So which of these bikes would you have bought? Let us know in the comments, smash that like button, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss any videos. See you in the next video.